creators! Today we are talking about oil paints for beginners. So you know I love oil paint, so I'm really excited for this topic today. I hope you enjoy. So today talking about oil paints, and I would like to do this podcast episode for beginners, but also to demystify some myths about oil paint. I put a post on my Instagram a time ago, a carousel post about 4 myths about oil paints. And it's something that we hear over and over again. My objective with this is that if you're thinking about oil paints, if you wanted to try, you should not be afraid. And for sure, we're going to talk more about oil paints, but this is an episode for you if you were thinking about it. And so don't be afraid. I'm going to talk to you why you should not be afraid. Let's start talking first about, these myths, right? One that is really common is myth number 1 is that oil paint is toxic. I hear this so much, and it is kind of annoying, I have to say. So let's set the record straight, okay? What are oil paints? Oil paints are basically linseed oil and natural pigments. Linseed oil is a flaxseed oil. It's a natural oil. And good brands, they use natural pigments. So oil paint is not actually toxic. What happens is that some pigments like cadmium red are toxic and cobalt can be toxic. But this is not just related to oils. Acrylic paints are toxic. And we're going to talk later about that. There are some golden paints that have, one is about cancer. So oil paints are actually very safe. I think watercolors are the top and then oil paints. But even watercolors, you have to watch out for the red pigments. While oils are made with linseed oil and pigments, acrylics, they are made of acrylic polymer emulsion and plasticizers, silicone oils, stabilizers, and sometimes metal soaps. And that's what, sometimes changes from good brands to cheap brands of acrylics is because some acrylics use less pigments and more stabilizers and plastic and things like that. So, of course, more expensive, they use more pigments and they put less stabilizers. But acrylic paints, overall, the recipe is not natural. So while oils, there's just 2 ingredients that are natural. So acrylics, in my opinion, way more toxic than oils. And that's why it's a pet peeve of mine when I see people not using gloves with acrylics. You should always use gloves with acrylics, no matter what the acrylic is. We have to remember that our skin is an organ that, takes everything in. So we should not deal with any kind of paint without gloves, really. I think the only one that I use without gloves sometimes is watercolors. I mean, we should be safe overall. So that was myth number 1, that oils would be toxic, which is not true. Myth number 2 is that oil paints smell bad. This one is a biggie as well. Oil paints itself, they have no smell. If they have smell, what people confuse is the mediums that people are using with the oil. So, for example, a time ago, people would use turpentine and Gamsol, which some people still use turpentine and Gamsol, mineral spirits. But turpentine has a smell, and turpentine and Gamsol, they are toxic, and they have fumes. Nowadays, people say it's safe to use Gamsol because there is no smell. But that's not true. Gamsol still releases fumes. So even if you use Gamsol, which I don't use anymore with oils, you should use masks when you use Gamsol. I see teachers that are very famous saying, out there, oh, when I was in art school, we used turpentine, it smelled horrible, but now we can use this, it's safe because there's no smell. No, it still releases fumes. They just made it to release the smell. Just because it's not smelling doesn't mean that it's not dangerous for you. It's just like, carbon monoxide in your home. We don't feel it, but that's why we have alarms, because we don't feel the smell, but you can have carbon monoxide in your home and it can kill you. We should be careful using mediums that can have fumes. All this to say that, I use natural mediums made with essential oils, lean and fat to clean my brushes, everything. And also, Gambling also has a solvent-free, odor-free gel medium also. So there are plenty of safe options out there for you to use it with oil. So don't get scared with this kind of thing. Oil has bad smell and we should not use mediums, and get scared because oils use mediums and not water. So don't get scared because of that. Myth number 3, oils take too long to dry. Well, it depends. If you use a lot of mediums with oils, they actually dry fast. So it depends on the kind of painting you're doing. If you're doing a paint that you don't use a lot of mediums, so yes, they're going to take more to dry. But it also depends on the region that you live in, your weather and things like that. So, of course, if you live in a space that is drier, it's probably going to dry faster. But to me, really, this is not a bad thing about oils. This is a good thing about oils, because oils give you the time to correct things. With acrylic, sometimes we don't have time to correct things. You don't have time to think about it. Take a day and look and see what you want to change, and maybe remove it completely, start over again. Some parts of your painting. And the beauty of oils is that you can do that. Oils teach us to be patient, to take our time. And I think actually not drying fast is a benefit of oils. But if you are an impatient person, maybe oils will not be for you. But if you wanted to exercise that patience, so maybe oil is something good to try. And another myth is, I think we're number 4, I can just use oil in canvases. No, oil is just like any paint. It's just like acrylics. You can use oils in any surface. You don't have to use just in canvases. My favorite actually surfaces for oils are wood boards or gesso boards from Ampersand. Just love them. Don't know why. I just love to paint on that surface better than canvases with oils. I think they have more grip with the oil. It doesn't absorb so much, although I do use a underpainting with acrylics, but I do love the Ampersand boards for oils. But oils you can use in any kind of materials. You don't need to use just with canvases. And I think the other one, number 5, is that painting oils is hard. I actually disagree, because I think oils, as I said before, it has a forgiving learning curve, because, it takes longer to dry. They blend beautifully. And because of that, you can have unique colors with it and do a beautifully blended look. But a medium being hard or easy, watercolor, acrylics, mixed media, it's not really the medium's fault. Any kind of paint, it takes time to learn. It takes time to learn. Oils are hard if you don't practice them. If you get to practice them and play with them, you start to learn about them and they're not going to be hard anymore. Number 6, oils are expensive. Well, it's true and not true, because in any medium, watercolors, acrylics, oils, it depends on the quality of the product you're using. Because if you're using the best brands, as I said before, they use high concentrated pigments in the product, less stabilizers, less, fillers to the paint to make it cheaper. So, yeah, they're going to cost more. But oils are not different than, for example, a tube of Daniel Smith watercolors. That a little tube of 10 ml is like $15. That is expensive, but it is expensive because it's natural. So, any mediums, we're going to have products, especially student grades. Like, there are some oils out there that are student grade that you have to put a lot of mediums for them to work. They are a little drier in the tubes, so it takes a while to work it on. You can see they have more fillers there to make them cheaper. And when I start to use good quality oils, I see tremendous difference. Tremendous difference. So you have to be aware. I think if you want to try something for the first time, buy a cheap oil set. I know Arteza has one. But I would highly recommend to buy basic colors, a small set, and start playing with oils with good quality. And they're going to last a long time. Also like good acrylic paint is not cheap, like Golden, Sennelier, Charvin. They're about the range of $15 to $17 or $20 a tube of paint. So it's not cheap to buy good quality paint. We are going to certainly be talking more about oils. So if you have questions, let us know what topic you would like to talk about. But I hope this episode help you just with a little bit of the basics of some myths that are out there that are, the most common questions that we have and the most common assumptions about oils. So I hope that encourage you not to be afraid if you ever wanted to try oils. So as always, I would like to hear from you. If you ever tried oils, if you feel intimidated, let us know. DM me on Instagram or write a comment on the blog post. As always, we can continue the conversation over there. So don't forget, be artistically you, create and enjoy art, and that will bring joy and peace to your life. I see you guys next time.